Ladies and gentlemen, we are live at Filthy 150 2019 in Punchestown, just outside of Dublin. I'm Jacobsen. I'm joined by Armen Hammer, the man, and we've got an event ahead of us. What have we got?
So we're going to be starting the 2020 sanctional season off at Filthy 150 with Handwalk Hurry, a 700-meter ski for time, but every 2 minutes, including the start, a 20-meter handstand walk.
It's going to be a blast to see how these athletes tackle it. Do they have a game plan, or do they just get out there and leave it all on the line?
It's going to be very interesting to see how they take it on, because if you start off with too hard of a pace, you might actually mess up your execution when it comes to the handstand walks, and that is the last thing that you want, because you want as much time on that ski erg as possible.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do, and I'm looking forward to seeing these girls go out there and put the pressure cooker on everybody else.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. We have a really very packed field of athletes in both divisions, and this first heat on the women's side is going to be really, really exciting to watch.
And they are on the way. The ladies are kicking up into the start of their handstand walk. Here to start with, Armen, what are we looking for? Is there anything that we think is going to be the decider?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that we want to focus on. First off, we want to see unbroken handstand walks in each direction. We want to take 10 meters out, 10 meters back without having any hiccups. Now, if you can be well ahead of the field there, that's going to make things a little bit easier for you getting onto the ski erg. But once you get onto the ski erg, you want to make sure that you're efficient, using your hips as much as possible and not allowing your backs and your triceps to take over all the work, because once your triceps are smoked on a workout like this, those handstand walks are going to become exponentially more difficult.
And so the ladies on the floor, in lane number 1, we have Hannah Hardy. In lane number 2, Gina DeLucia. Lane number 3, Ashley Shepard. Lane number 4, Nick Latora. Then Samantha Petrich in lane number 5. Lane number 6, Katie Price. Maureen Kogel in lane number 7. Dina Swedish, lane number 8. Joey Kimden, lane number 9. Lane number 10, Julia Kamed. And Victoria Hernandez in lane number 11.
This heat is really interesting. We have a big mix of athletes in this heat, Mads. I mean, Joey Kimden is a Masters champion at the CrossFit Games, competed as an individual at regionals a couple of times. And at the same time, we have a couple athletes here who their highest level of competition were intermediate competitions out at Wadapalooza over the past couple of years.
And do you think this is one of the things that we're going to see a lot of as the sanctional season evolves, that we're going to see Masters athletes going out here competing for a spot as individual athletes in these events?
Oh, sure. I mean, we've seen a lot of times, I mean, we take it for granted, but an athlete like Sam Briggs is always pushing the limit when it comes to the capacity of Masters athletes and competing with the open division. But with the sanctional season allowing athletes to come in and compete on their own schedule and at their own level, it absolutely will allow them to show up and compete in a way that we don't necessarily see them do that very often.
And we just saw a graphic right now of the ski erg. So what we have is the good guys from Concept have helped us out, not just giving us some of the finest machinery available out there, but also giving us an opportunity to be able to see how the athletes progress. So when you get to when they get back to the ski erg, and when we see that again, the screen again, you're going to see the leader. You're going to see how far the leader has gotten and how close everybody else is. So feast your eyes on that.
Absolutely, and honestly, this execution here is really impressive. This is Victoria Hernandez here in lane 11. Two very quick, very, very impressive handstand walks. I mean, that's exactly the type of execution that you want to see out of her. Getting 30 seconds, maybe 27, 26 seconds out and back on that 20-meter handstand walk, just to give her the most amount of time possible.
And we're seeing a bunch of different techniques on the ski erg. What are you looking for? What would you say is the most efficient way to do this?
I think there's some debate for that one, Matt. That's a really interesting question. One of the things that I look for on a ski erg is the hips almost leading the movement, right? You almost push the hips back, push the butt back, load the hamstrings, and then violently close the hips and the torso in order to get that extension. It's your arms that are finishing the movement, not necessarily starting the movement.
Yep. One of the things that I've heard a lot of people talk about, and I'm just not well versed enough to make a qualified guess as to what's better, but how far should you reach? You're seeing some of these athletes reach really, really high, and you're seeing some that hardly reach at all and just use their core. What would you prefer?
Well, in a situation like this, which she has 50 meters left and 15 seconds to go, you're going to want to reach as high up as you can, extend the length of the handles are traveling in order to make sure that you're getting as much distance as possible so you have as much power output as possible. Wow.
There we go.
Wow. That is very impressive. I think we have 2 athletes that finished there, Mads.
I think we do, yes. And I also think we had a couple of athletes that really got in trouble even as early on as the second handstand or the handstand walk.
Yeah, this is a very surprising couple of movements, right? Together, they really do tax one another in a very specific way. Once that lower back starts falling apart, once your abs start taking over too much fatigue on the skier, I mean, you and I have felt what it feels like when your abs are tired. Maybe we don't do it quite as aggressively as these ladies do, but when we have that type of aggressive combination of movements, the abs and the lower back, once that's gone, your handstand walks are gone.
Yeah, and you're also seeing that there are a lot of different techniques being utilized on the handstand walk. Some people more of a scorpion technique, and others more of a gymnastic technique, feet together. Is there any one that's better than the other?
You know, I would say that the classic gymnastics, toes pointed, everything stacked is much more efficient, and it is much more efficient. But to be fair, some of the best gymnastics handstand walkers in the CrossFit space are awful when it comes to their technique in handstand walking. Rich Froning, I'm looking at you, but it never slowed him down. It never slowed down some of the best in the world from being Annie Thorisdottir, same deal. You know, the capacity to do the work is more important than how exactly you're getting it done at that level, for sure.
So we're getting closer to the finish of the first heat here. Remember, there's an 8-minute time cap to this workout. We're 5 minutes and 39 seconds into the workout, and we're seeing more and more athletes finish it up, but we're also seeing some getting themselves in trouble.
Yeah, Mads, are you surprised here? I mean, we talked a little bit beforehand about how quickly this workout is going to go. We had in the very first heat 3 women finish in under 4 minutes.
That is surprising to me. That is very surprising. Just because it's the speed on the ski erg, as we talked about before, is like how fast are these girls going to be able to go on the ski erg? The answer is really fast. Really,
really fast. Yeah, I think this is one of those workouts that absolutely pays for power output and calm under pressure, because the last thing you want is to be stuck on your handstand walk, let's say 40 seconds or a minute, and suddenly you have no time to get onto the erg at all.
And I think it's lane number 4. We had in the picture just a second ago here, Nick Latour, who's fighting a little bit with her handstand walk. She hasn't kicked up. Got a couple of other athletes here. Struggle to see the lane number right now.
Yeah, with an 8-minute cap on this workout, with a very quick cap on this workout, it's absolutely a case of making sure that you can keep your calm and keep your wits in a situation where you're also sprinting on an erg.
And what happens when your confidence goes out the window?
Oh man, your first reaction is going to be to just kick up there, maybe swear at yourself once or twice, and give it another shot. But honestly, we saw this happen at the CrossFit Games. We had a whole set of long handstand walks during that second event, and it was really important that the athletes that started failing it took their time, right? You'd rather take 10 seconds, sort of catch your breath, calm down, make sure you're ready to go, as opposed to continue to try, continue to fail, and end up adding another 40 seconds to your time.
Definitely, and we've got a couple of athletes still out here on the floor, still working at everything they've got. Looks like the middle lane here could be lane number
7, I believe.
7 or 8. Just finishing off on the ski erg right now. And that's a short pull to end up.
Yeah, that's the type of pull when you only have maybe 30 meters left to go, and you're just trying to end it as quickly as possible.
And it is time for the first heat of Filthy 150, Punchestown, Dublin, Ireland. The sanctional season is on the way. Looked like the winner of the heat was in 3:54, Victoria Hernandez. Anything that comes out of our mouth is unofficial. to start with. We're going to have to get the judges' notes on that, but it looked like Victoria Hernandez was the first one to finish.
Yeah, I'm very surprised by how quickly these ladies were able to finish off that first heat. I mean, obviously the comparison between a 1K ski and a 700-meter ski, the scaling I think is appropriate. I'm just curious to see, you know, with 3 women in the very first heat finishing in under 4 minutes, only having to do 2 sets of handstand walks. That's a really big signal that we're going to see some huge performances out of the top women coming in the later heats.
And I mean, my impression is that every time we go to these events, the same thing happens. We're like, around the 5-minute mark is probably where we're going to see people finish and so on and so forth, but they keep on just, you know, proving us wrong. So let's look at the workout right here. What happened?
We got a good look at the points of performance that are going to give us a successful event 1 for these athletes. One is high power output on the skier, followed by flawless execution on the handstand walks, and that's exactly what the top athletes in that heat did.
And it's going to be interesting to see if these other girls on the way in here now, if they looked and if they learned and if they're going to change their game plans. We are in for a treat very soon. Assignments. In lane number 1, Desiree Rogers. In lane number 2, Carissa Miller. Lane number 3, Hilary Steele. 4, Michelle Besnat. Lane number 5, Kelsey Keel. Lane number 6, Andrea Stolberg. Lane number 7, Javon Thompson. Lane number 8, Kimberly DeCray. Lane number 9, Simona Silva. And in lane number 10, Casey Wells.
Now we're starting to get into some of these, in lane number 11, Ella Wilkinson. We're starting to get into some of these heavy hitters here, Mads. I mean, we're talking some games teams athletes here. We're talking some really well-accomplished athletes showing off what they can do.
And it's going to be interesting to see some of these athletes that we typically see in teams. How do they do in this event?
Yeah, this is going to be one of the things we saw with the change to the CrossFit Games season. And, you know, I think everybody has their own opinion about how the changes to the CrossFit Games season panned out, but I'd say almost everybody feels the same way about the teams, and that now finally all bets are off, super teams are good to go, and we started seeing many teams athletes showing up who were just high-level individual athletes, and they had to adapt themselves to that team environment. The question is, when athletes like that sit out and get onto the individual floor, can they still hold their own, Mads? What do you think, man?
I think they can. I think the teams are great breeding grounds for just getting competitive experience, being able to go out there and learn. Even you have some seasoned athletes, you have some new athletes, and this is where they get it. Then that gives them an opportunity to grow as athletes, grow with their training, come back, and we find them in an individual setting.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if any of the athletes in this heat go out with more of a suicide pace than we saw earlier, because, you know, finishing in under 4 minutes is very quick, but where can we improve here, right? We could be much faster on the handstand walk, that's for sure. That is for sure.
And I'm looking forward to seeing in lane number 5, Kelsey Keel. She is impressively strong. I'm not sure how her handstand walk is, but once you get her onto the skier, I'm expecting to see her go fast.
But in the lead right now is Andrea Solberg, who just sprinted that 20 meters in around 20 seconds and got started on the skier. Hopefully we can get the Concept 2 graphics onto the board here to take a look. Those are sweet graphics. My favorite part of the little skiers that are actually moving. It's like a vertical view of a skier that's going across the screen. But that's exactly what we're looking for. I mean, she came out like a bat out of hell.
And in your screen right now, you're going to see the leader, Andrea Stolberg, and she's currently got 560 meters left, so the top distance is the distance that she has left. On the right next to that, you can see the elapsed time of the workout, and there she is, your current leader in heat number 2, Andrea Stolberg.
Yeah, it looked like she was skiing somewhere around a 146, 147. which is a bomber pace. She's going for it.
Looking forward to seeing if that's going to play a role on that. I mean, the first handstand walk she did was ridiculously fast. I don't think I could have walked that fast, but I just want to see if she's going to be able to duplicate that effort after going that hard on the ski erg.
Yeah, this is going to be very telling about what the capacity is to stay calm in a movement like the handstand walk that is very elegant in its execution. It requires much more practice.
And so it looks like Andrea has about 310 meters to go.
That is unbelievable. She has built a huge lead here.
And you saw her just looking over at the clock right now, how much time she had left. So now let's see how fast she is on the handstand walk.
What a transition. So she's 30 meters ahead of the first heat here, which is huge.
It is. And just equally fast on the second handstand walk, just got right down and got right back up again.
Wow. And she nearly pirouetted. Now the athletes are required to come down after the 10 meters, but she almost did a little bit of a bonus there and just did a little flipsy on the way back for the handstand walk.
I wonder if she's the one who asked the question at the briefing. Do I have to come down, or can I just turn around?
Look at that lead. She has less than 200 meters to go, and she's going to finish this well under that 4-minute mark.
She is setting a blistering pace, and I mean she's throwing down the gauntlet for all the other ladies out there. I mean, they can't ignore this kind of effort.
Yeah, this is a very impressive performance out of Andrea Solberg, who, by the way, has competed at regionals as an individual and on a team, but never made it to the games.
And what did we talk about just a second ago? Teams, great place to get some experience and then come out here and showcase your skills. Andrea has 30 meters left to go. She is crushing the pace of the first heat.
Wow. Unofficial 3:20.
That is insane. Very impressive, and I'm happy to see this. I mean, this just goes out there and proves a point.
That's going to sting a little. That's going to sting a little, Matt. And one of the reasons, by the way, that she is maybe flying under the radar here is her countrywoman also happens to be very good at CrossFit. That's Kristen Holton.
Well, she's from Andrea Solberg. Is she Norwegian or is she Danish? I think that she could be Danish.
I see twice fittest in Norway here.
Twice fittest in Norway.
Twice second fittest in Norway.
She is Norwegian. She's not Danish. And God, it's kind of like we talked about earlier. If you're in a country with Kristin Holte, same thing with if you're in Iceland. It's like Thuri Helgadottir, one of these athletes, flew under the radar. Any other country in the world, she'd be the top dog.
We had 5 athletes finish that workout in under 4 minutes in Heat 2, which is mind-blowing. And we also actually had a really interesting case here, which is during this workout specifically, you can actually finish while you're on the handstand walks because the skier will continue to roll over. So if it does roll over, in that case, you might see that the athlete is doing their handstand walk, but the judge will tell them that they're done. They do not need to finish that 20-meter handstand walk. They're just done with the workout at that point. That was one of the athletes in this heat actually had that situation happen to them.
And it looks like we're 4 minutes and 42 seconds into the workout right now. We still have 3 athletes on the floor trying to complete the work required. That is a fast heat.
It's kind of chilly in here. Do you think that has anything to do with some of the performances we're seeing here?
I think it may have a little bit to do with it. I mean, if you're used to working out where it's a lot warmer, you never feel stiffness in the same way. Around here, it's a little bit chilly. You walk, you warm up, you get in here, you get your setup, and then you get onto the floor. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of these athletes are, getting a bit of a Fran cough.
Sure. Yeah, the cold, dry air is just really wrecking their lungs and throats here.
So in lane number 10, that is Casey Wells in the middle of your screen, just putting the finishing touches on the workout. And in lane number 1, we have Desiree Rogers still working, but I think she's the last athlete on the floor right there in the middle of your screen.
Desiree Rogers is yet another athlete who's had experience at regionals, both as an individual, as a team. Competed at Wadapalooza last year in the RX division, which is absolutely a competitive division. I mean, we saw athletes like Bethany Shadburn who made their debut basically at Wadapalooza in the RX division, won that and then qualified for the games for their first year competing. So there's no slouches in any of these heats.
No, none whatsoever. And you saw as Desiree walked back to the ski erg, she virtually had nothing left to do. I mean, it's just a handstand walk. It's taken a bit out, put too much out of the tank, and it's kind of getting her in trouble.
Yeah, she's quite a distance away from the finish line at this point. And this is one of those situations where efficiency in the handstand walk just plays such a huge role, such a huge role.
But then again, considering that she has experience on a very big stage, do you think she's going to be able to bounce back, or how do you deal with this?
You've got to be rubber mats. I mean, it's one of those situations where if you have something like this occur early on in a competition, especially a competition like Sanctional where there's a lot on the line, you just have to be able to wash it off, let it go, and move on to the next event. The previous event has nothing to do with the following event, and each event is its own sort of island of performance.
Yep.
I think it's important for the athletes to realize that just having one bad movement or one bad performance isn't the end of the world, and it absolutely just gives them an opportunity to be better the next time.
And the thing is, this is just the first workout. There's so much work left, so she can't really stop working either and go, you know what, I'm going to come back next workout, see how it pans out. She's still competing with everybody else that has been, and everybody else is going to come.
Absolutely, and there are 3 workouts today alone.
Yep.
So she's got a long night ahead of her, and you know, it might make it a little bit more challenging mentally speaking in order to be, you know, focused when it comes down to the other events. But at the same time, I know many competitors thrive under that sort of situation. Hey, I didn't show you my best on my first event, but I will show you my best when it comes to the next couple events.
And that's the beauty of doing CrossFit, isn't it? You never know what you're going to be competing in. So one of these shows you maybe the rock star, and the next thing you know, somebody pulls something out of the hat, and you're like, it's just not my day.
And that's why I don't compete, Matt, because I don't have anything to pull out of my hat.
Oh, really? I thought it was because you had nothing to prove.
Also that. That's actually a better one.
You're
I'm gonna
proficient
use that next
at
time.
everything. You
That's
don't
right.
need it. So the second heat is in the books for these ladies. We had a blistering time here. Andrea Solberg out of Norway, not Denmark, as I alluded to earlier. Just throw down the gauntlet, really kind of put her name on the board for everybody else.
Yeah,
She's pretty
it was
happy.
Really impressive performance. The mimicking of the hand walking is great right there. You can just imagine her telling someone in the crowd, my arms hurt so much.
Either that or this is what you're supposed to do. This is how you walk.
As far as the scores go here, Mads, let's take a look here. Unofficially, we have a 3:19 in the lead out of Solberg.
That is very impressive. That's 21 seconds unofficially ahead of number 2 in the heat, DeCray. But I mean, it's just so fast. It is crazy.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here is really a situation in which the power output might have been unexpected out of these women. We're not going to really see women coming in and finishing it under the first 2 minutes, but this is about as close as it gets.
And this is exactly what you talked about. Proficiency in the handstand walk will buy you time on the ski erg to go crush it. That being said, as Andrea did, you still need proficiency on the ski erg. You can't just go by tenacity and kind of pull on it. You need to have a bit of technique. Andrea did, and came out of this with an amazing time.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a very difficult time to beat, even with these athletes.
So we're on our way to heat number 3. Alexis DeToli in lane number 1, Tommy DePrima in lane number 2, Steph Chung lane number 3, Samantha Briggs in lane number 4, Emma McQuaid lane number 5, Kristen Holte lane number 6, Sarah Sigmundsdottir lane number 7, Emily Leppanen in lane number 8, Nicole Burke in lane number 9, and Cheryl Nasso in lane number 10. In lane number 11, we've got Michaela Norman, and in lane number 12, Emily Lundberg.
This is going to be a stacked heat. These ladies are going to go so fast, and with a time to beat like 3:19 on the board, wow.
Yeah, I can't imagine that the girls walking onto the floor right now did not see what just happened. And I'm just wondering if they're going, you know what, I'm going to aim for that time, or if they're going second place. It's going to be sweet.
I mean, between Sam Briggs, Emma McQuaid, Kristen Holte, and Sarah Sigmundsdottir, we have some heavy hitters in this heat.
There is nobody on the floor. And one of these athletes that we that kind of flies under the radar is Emma McQuaid. I'm looking forward to seeing Emma. Emma has always been good, but she's always gotten better as well, which should be scary for virtually the rest of the athletic world.
Yeah, she had a great season in 2019. She had 2 really wonderful sanctional performances, qualified as the national champion for Ireland, represented very well with a 21st place finish. And I think that this year is going to be yet another breakout. I mean, we saw her in 20.1 put up an absolutely massive time to beat first in the world by a margin, real margin.
It is going to be interesting to see her. We've got Sarah Sigmundsdottir in the middle of your screen right here. Sarah Sigmundsdottir has been a part of this circuit for so long. She's had her ups, she's had her downs, she's handled everything really, really, really well. What do you expect from Sarah?
Man, Sarah is the Iceland queen of fitness that keeps delivering. I mean, she's won the Open now unofficially this year. This will be her 2nd year in a row winning the Open. She's been on the podium twice. She's always been able to perform when the time comes to perform. Has had a couple rough years at the games, not really her best performances, but with another season starting off, it's a clean slate for her.
Yep. We are about to kick it off here as the ladies get ready. And
there it is.
There it is. Let's see who gets off to the first handstand, fastest on the first handstand walk. It looks like Christine Holte is off to a slightly faster start, or pardon me, a lot faster start than everybody else.
Oh,
Christine Holte, the Norwegian champ.
Yeah, she had a great year at the CrossFit Games this past year, taking a podium spot for the first time in her career. I'm not surprised that handstand walk went as well for her as it did. The question is, she's a smaller athlete compared to some of the more power-based athletes out here. How do you think she's going to do on this skier?
Well, the thing is that she comes from she's a Norwegian, which means that she knows how to ski. She comes from a family that has proud athletic traditions, skiing being one of them. And she works out with Andrea Solberg every once in a while as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see her do very, very, very well. I think what she lacks in just body mass, she makes up with technique.
Yeah, and she's moving here. A 146 pace on here. I mean, she's definitely pushing a very aggressive pace with just under a minute left here in this first heat. She's going to be an athlete to watch. Now, last heat, we had Solberg finish in 3:19, and she only had 250 meters remaining by the time she had to handstand walk at the 2-minute mark.
So that
is something else.
It is insanely fast. If anybody out there wants to try, just give it a go. Please, just give it a go and see how you stack up against what we just saw in the previous heat.
Yeah, an hour later, when you catch your breath, maybe tweet us or send us a video on Instagram.
Please just tag Armen and I on social media. We will be happy to repost your efforts.
Yeah, and Sarah Sigmundsdottir here, I mean, this is the type of thing I would expect from her. She's very good at going dark. This is an event, however, that might punish her for going a little too aggressive in the dark place, right?
Yep. And so we've got Emily Leppänen in the middle of your screen right there. And she actually kind of went off the ski erg a little bit earlier, shaking her arms a little bit, and got onto the handstand walk. That could be smart.
Now, we have it in here. Kristen Holte had 2:32 remaining.
Oh,
2:32, so she's still ahead.
But Christine Holte is a little bit slower on the handstand walk. We saw Stephanie Chung in the top of your screen right there. There she is, getting off of the handstand walk just a little bit faster. That could be game plan.
Absolutely. Stephanie Chung, a games veteran with very, very strong gymnastics. The gymnastics were part of what made her earn her spot to the CrossFit Games through regionals a couple of years ago, and just showing it off here, because really it's that second handstand walk that makes a big difference.
It really is, and that's where experience comes in. Do you save a little bit for that? Do you kind of make your move on the second handstand walk? What do you do? Yeah. Here it is in the middle of your screen.
Dude, we have a really, really interesting race here, because as you can see, Kristen Holte is still in the lead here. However, there's a couple athletes that are catching her. Sarah Sigmundsdottir is going straight power bombing right now. Steph Chung is going straight power bomb. Sam Briggs is starting to catch up. I mean, these are athletes that if they smell blood in the water, they're going for it. And with just 50 meters left.
And they are all going incredibly fast.
Now, We will have the 319 from our previous heat stay.
Yes.
But that is a very impressive point, 328.3 out of Kristen Holta.
And we got Sarah Sigmundsdottir on the second spot. We got Stephanie Chung in third. Now Samantha Briggs looks like she's finished as well. Amazing heat, just a lot of really fast athletes.
Yeah, we have so far 6 athletes that have finished in under that 4-minute mark.
That is crazy. Impressive. I don't know, I'm gonna have to come up with some words to describe how amazing these ladies are and how incredibly hard it is to make what they just did look that easy.
Yeah, that's the fact that they're still standing upright and talking to one another and maybe comparing notes about how the workout went for each other is kind of mind-boggling, because this is a power output in an event like this that really starts taxing the body in fantastic ways.
In the bottom of your screen, you got Michaela Norman. Michaela Norman is an athlete. We've seen her at the Dubai Fitness Championships a bunch of times. She likes rowing, she likes handstand, or she likes running, she likes ski erging, but that handstand walk just kind of got to her. And here's Samantha Briggs fighting a little bit with her handstand walk as well.
Kind of the same deal between Sam Briggs and Michaela Norman. Now, these are two names, athletes that are very, very good with their endurance events. I mean, we saw at the Dubai CrossFit Championships last year that kicked off the sanctional season. Michaela Norman won this really hefty 4K out, 4K back desert dune race. Sam Briggs was right behind her in that event. But both of them, they have trouble with this handstand walk.
And Sam Briggs, just a couple of weeks ago, we saw her on social media. She said she had an injury. How do you think she's doing right now?
You know, as far as I know, she wouldn't be showing up if she wasn't ready to compete. And knowing Sam, I think it's going to take a lot more than any sort of injury to stop her from showing up and really throwing down at an event like this.
And here we see Michaela Norman just putting the finishing touches on her ski erg. 5 minutes and 36 seconds into the workout, but we still have a couple of athletes out on the floor. We see Sarah Sigmundsdottir cheering on Emilia Leppänen right there in the middle of your screen, as she seems to be struggling a little bit with her handstand walk as well.
Yeah, this is definitely an event where if you get pulled into the trap of going way too fast because the person next to you is going really, really fast, you are going to be paying a dear price by the time it comes down to the next set of handstand walks.
And this is an unforgiving heat as well. I mean, some of the finest athletes in the female CrossFit world are on that floor right now. What I like is that they're all trying to help their competitor.
Absolutely. I mean, we have CrossFit Games champion Sam Briggs. We have several national champions. We have several podium finishers, Kristen Holta and Sarah Sigmundsdottir. We have lots of experience on this field. And the fact that they're coming together to just kind of help out the last person left on the floor it's very meaningful, I think. It's very, very meaningful.
It gives me hope for the human race to see something like this, both because of the physical level of athleticism that these girls have got, but also the fact that they've still got the heart in the right spot.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where you kind of are just going to get trapped into the quagmire that is this 2-minute window, right? And you wouldn't expect it, but even the best competitors are human.
Exactly. Which gives everybody else a little bit of hope back in our boxes as well. So Emilia Leppänen on the handstand walk still. She's got 45 seconds to go before the time cap.
So it looks like the unofficial finishes here put Solberg in first with 3:19, Holta in second with 3:28.
I wouldn't have imagined that the gap would be that big, but Solberg just insanely fast.
Yeah, 9 seconds, 10 seconds in a workout that takes 3.5 minutes is a lifetime. It's an absolute lifetime.
So we've got another 10 seconds and change here before Emilia Leppänen is going to hear the buzzer at the 8 minutes. I look forward to seeing Emilia for the rest of this competition. She did great when I saw her in Reykjavik, and she's been a great athlete for a long time. So pretty sure she'll bounce back and do amazing things a little bit later today.
What a start. What a start for the 2020 sanctional season. This event is savage. Absolutely savage.
It is, but there's a smile on her face. There are smiles on everybody's face. Filthy 150 2019 is on the way.
That's right.
Kristen Halter right here also looking pretty happy as she walks off the floor. I'm pretty sure that she likes her performance as well.
I would be happy to, Matt. I'll be honest with you, I'd be happy to.
328, I'd be a happy camper. I'd be signing autographs.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting to see. And with an event like this that requires no change in equipment, no moving of anything around, they basically just reset the rowers, make sure everything's good to go. We're going to be getting into the men's heats pretty soon here.
Yep. So here is a little recap of what we saw in the last heat. So what happened was that Sarah Sigmundsdottir, everybody else got on the floor. Christine Holte had a plan that she probably talked to Andreas Solberg about, got off to a blistering pace on the handstand walk, slowed down a little bit, allowed everybody else to catch up with her, but she didn't have a lot of distance left on the ski erg, and finished it in 3:28.
I'm very impressed to see Kristen Holte beat Solberg out with that first 2-minute window. I mean, the fact that she was ahead of her by about 20 meters is super impressive. I think there's a bit of a size difference between those two athletes, but it did not pan out for that second interval.
No. But so we saw a great start to this. Are there any surprises? Is there anybody where you're like, I didn't see that coming?
You know, I would have expected an athlete like Sarah to execute this a little bit more aggressively. Now, she didn't drop the ball. I mean, I think she was in the top 3, top 4. So absolutely a great start to her weekend. But with her capacities and her abilities, I would have expected her to do a little bit better on this event.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how these guys do. They are back to the warm-up area as we've got the first men getting on the floor right now. So in lane number 1, we have Tom Watson. Lane number 2, Tucker McLemore. Lane number 3, Will Kane. Lane number 4, Tyler Lloyd. Lane number 5, Andre Houdet. Lane number 6, Mike Wagner. Lane number 7, Jake Berman. Lane number 8, Jake Fry. Lane number 9, Bartek Lipka. Lane number 10, Brendan Castlin. And in lane number 11, Ty Laramie.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting heat. There are a couple of athletes who I have my eyes on. One is Andre Houdet. He really kind of came onto the scene at Cape Town last year and was in the lead for a good portion of that sanctioned event and really sort of put his stamp on some types of events. I'm really interested to see how he's able to do here with, you know, another season rolling through, several months of training under his belt, the ability to get out here and show us what he's got. Another athlete that I've got my eyes on is Bartek Lipka. I mean, this guy's a beast. This guy's a beast.
He is a beast. He's always been a beast, and he's been on the scene for a long time. It's a lot of experience. And that experience isn't just in competition, it's also in training, in getting yourself ready. All that work that happens when nobody's watching.
Yes.
So the event we have ahead of us is what?
Handwalk Hurry is a 1,000-meter ski for time with a little bit of a twist. On the 0 and every 2 minutes following, you have to handstand walk 20 meters. So they don't even get this first 2 minutes to get in as many meters as they can. They have to start off 20 meters on their hands.
And in the middle of your screen, you just had Bartek Lipka. Athletes are getting ready, and it's time. They are on the way onto the handstand walk. Now, we saw some of the ladies in the previous heats come off to a crazy start, very, very fast. Let's see how the guys do.
Yeah, my guess is we're going to see some athletes maybe come out a little bit too hot. Athletes who maybe use their freshness for the handstand walk to execute a little too aggressively. But really the key is going to be whether they can hit this ski erg very, very hard and recover in time for that 2-minute mark.
And we've got Jake Berman right here. Looks like he's off to a bit of a start, but Bartek Lipka is right on Bartek Lipka has passed him now.
We are neck and neck with 5 athletes essentially within 10 meters meters of one another. Very, very tight race in this event. I'm curious to see, Mads, what do you think is going to happen once they finish this 2-minute mark? Do you think we're going to see athletes take a second, pause, and rest, or are they just going to flip it and go and just get upside down and see what they've got?
I think they're going to probably go flip upside down, go right away, and if they don't make it under the 4-minute and go to the next handstand push or a handstand walk, I think we're going to see them take a little bit of a breather then. But yeah, it depends on how comfortable you are with that handstand walk.
And with 5 athletes that close, neck and neck, they are really going to be worried about and on their mind focusing on the execution of this next handstand walk situation. If they get upside down and things are really too wobbly, if their core is a little too tired, their lower back's a little too tired, God forbid their triceps are tired.
Yep.
That's going to be a really big problem.
And it's interesting to see, and one of the questions I have for you is, we see these athletes out there, you see them looking left and right, but what are they looking at? You can't really see how far anybody else has gotten.
I think what they're doing is the classic peek at the pace situation, right? They just want to see like, oh man, is that guy skiing a 120 something? I'm only skiing a 130 something.
And we are on to the next handstand walk. Now we had pretty much everybody get onto the ski erg at the same time. Who has the freshest shoulders?
Oh, we're starting to see some athletes start dropping after only a couple of these lengths. Now each of these lengths are 2 meters. So we're looking at relatively manageable lengths. It's very similar to what we've seen at the Open over the past couple of years for the handstand walks. But with just 2 minutes in and the handstand walk done, we have 2 athletes who have less than 500 meters to go.
And Jake Berman looks like he was the first one onto the ski erg. Again, remember that Jake Berman looked like he was in a good pace, but Will Kane,
wow,
ladies and gentlemen, right there, came off of a lot faster, and he's got a good pace as well.
Absolutely, it's going to be interesting to see if he can hold off athletes like Andre Houdet and Jake Berman, who are right behind him. I mean, you know, less than 15, 20 meters behind him on this event. And perhaps there's a little bit of strategy here. I mean, I didn't really see it, but maybe Will Kane was kind of pacing himself through that first 2-minute segment, knowing that if he can really push it on the last 2-minute segment, he can finish this thing in under 4 minutes.
And so Will Kane currently in the lead in this heat. He's got 250 meters and change left, 40 to 40 seconds on the clock.
Oh, this is gonna be really close. This is gonna be really close. I mean, I don't know if he's gonna be able to hit 220 meters in 30 seconds, but if he does, that is gonna be like a magic trick. It's gonna be something worth going to Vegas and buying tickets to watch.
It is aggressive, it really is. And once again, we've got to thank Concept 2 for not just hooking us up with the best ski erg, the best machines there are, but also with the graphics so we can watch how they are doing.
100 meters to go with less than 10 seconds. Yeah, he's gonna have to have another segment here, which must be a little frustrating, right, Matt?
It's gotta be frustrating, because right now, shoulders are taxed. And how much has he got left in the tank?
Yeah, here he is. I mean, he's got his hands on his knees. One of the last ones to kick up for his handstand walk. He's in a real painful cave right now. You're not alone, sir. We're all with you. He has 28 meters remaining. 28 meters.
And there he is, middle of your screen. It may not be the most gymnastically looking handstand walk, but you know what? It works.
That right there is Will Kane in lane 3, and he is just crushing it. Wow.
4:41 unofficial time right here for Will Kane.
Very impressive performance. I mean, there was some real moments there where you could see him strategizing. I think there was an issue with him sort of slowing himself down in that first 2-minute interval, and very smartly doing that in order to make sure that he had it in the tank to push on the second interval.
But you know he's wondering right now, what if I'd gone a little faster? I wouldn't have had to do the last handstand walk. So Jake Berman, and it is Brendan Castlin right now. Jake Berman finishing up. So Tyler Lloyd on his way to finishing up at the same time as Brendan just finished up his. Bartek Lipka right now next to Mike Wagner. Wow, these things are close.
Yeah, this is a
Mike
very,
Wagner.
very tight race. I'm curious to see here now, what do you think the next heat? And then they just saw all three of the women go. They just watched the first heat of men go. What do you think the first heat is, the next heat is going to be thinking about here?
I think the first heat are probably looking at an athlete that they know that they can kind of pace themselves off and then building a strategy off of that. If they know that, hey, I'm just as good at my handstand walk as Will Kane, maybe I should try to go a little bit harder than he did so I avoid the last handstand walk. But let's see what they've got.
Yeah, it looked like we got two athletes there that finished right at the 6-minute mark. 5:59.59. That is about as close as it gets. And so, Andre's meter says 0, but I didn't see a time pop up for him. So looks like he's finished as well.
Looks like we've still got two athletes out there on the floor. I think it's Tom Watson and
maybe Jake Fry.
Is it Jake? Yeah, could be Jake. Yeah, could be Jake Fry. It's hard for us to see the lane assignments right now. So, in case we just called out your favorite athlete and said he's not finished, don't worry about it. We will get it right.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom Watson, Jake Fry, and Ty Laramie are the three athletes remaining on the field here. With 1 minute left, and only one of them is actually headed back on that second half of the 20-meter handstand walk. I think this is a perfect example, by the way, of how taxing this workout is for these athletes.
It is beautifully programmed. It is beautifully programmed. It's one of these things where you look at it and you go, well, you know, this isn't that bad. And then suddenly you get hit in the head with a wake-up call. And these guys just got it.
Absolutely. I mean, we spoke a little bit earlier about the efficiency in the handstand walk, but once you start getting into your third handstand walk, or God forbid that these athletes, their fourth handstand walks, you've really put a lot of strain on that body. I mean, your core is pretty jacked up. You don't have any sort of stability to connect your hands to your lower body. And once that's gone, you're just basically a pile of jello wiggling around down the field.
That you then in a little bit after that need to kind of mobilize to get efficient on the skier.
Sure.
Good luck with that. So we've got 2-1, and it is time for the first heat for the male athletes at Filthy 150 2019.
Yeah, we had an athlete here in Lipka who started off like a bat out of hell, but was not able to hold on to that pace.
No, and it looked like he was struggling a bit on the second handstand walk as well.
Yeah, I think that right there is the key here. What we saw was an issue with the efficiency and execution for the handstand walk, which is an event that, again, punishes you for any sort of issue with your efficiency and execution.
One athlete who did not have a hard time with being efficient and being fast was Will Kane. Came out to a blistering start and then just absolutely crushed it. Very, very smart of him just to take it easy on the first handstand walk, get after it on the ski erg, and then make his move on the second interval.
Yeah, really very impressive performance. I think what we saw there was just the cusp of near perfect execution on this.
I think so.
I think the 4-minute mark on the men's side is going to be a very challenging mark to beat, but with a performance like that, it's certainly possible.
And we saw with the ladies a little bit earlier, you got one athlete goes out there and puts this amazing time up there. Andrea, we're going to talk about you a lot. But what happened was that it inspired everybody else to go harder. So here we have a bit of a recap of the heat we just watched. What we talked about, Bartek Lipka came off to a blistering start, struggled a little bit on the second handstand walk, which opened up the door for Will Kane. Give him just a little bit of a chance and he's going to take it. And Will Kane crushes his heat.
What a great celebration, too. Just one hand up in the air, ready for it, a little bit of a fist pump. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go relax, maybe warm up a little bit before the next event starts.
And Will Kane, who has been a permanent resident on the UK CrossFit scene for so long, we've seen him in every competition there is, and then some. I'm happy to see him get off to a good start.
Absolutely, and we talk about that regionals experience really paying off. At 3 regionals showings for Will Kane. Very, very impressive. Very, very strong mental game in that event.
And so we've got the second male athletes of the second heat making their way onto the floor. they have got the work cut out for them. They know the workout, but now they also have a couple of times to kind of measure themselves off.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting heat. We've got some very familiar names. We've got some new names in this heat. It's a great mix of athletes, old and new.
It is going to be interesting to see how these guys do.
In lane number 8,
there are a couple of athletes that you may have heard about before, one of them being Dan Bailey, right there in the middle of your screen.
That's right. Dan Bailey has returned from his self-imposed exile and is now ready to fight back his way to the CrossFit Games. I mean, this man has seen basically every era of the CrossFit Games in one way or another. He's won the Open. He won the very first Open. And on top of that, he's recovering from some injuries over the past couple of years.
But he's not alone. In lane number 1, he's got Sam Stewart. In lane number 3, Linus Bresander. In lane number 4, Brian Wong. In lane number 5, Devin O'Neill. Lane number 6, Dan Bailey. Lane number 7, Milos Stavaronski. Sorry if I butchered your name, buddy. Lane number 8, Jonathan Gibson. Lane number 9, Reggie Fossa. Lane number 10, Drew Wayman. And in lane number 11, Nick Matthew.
Now, Drew Wayman may be another name that you recognize. The Ginger himself came out onto the scene last year in sanctionals. There he is in his tie-dye hustle-made shirt and his bright red hair showing. And he really performed exceptionally well at many different sanctioned events last season. So I'm very curious to see how he does this year.
Looking forward to seeing him. The athletes are ready. And it's go for the athletes. As we said before, Dan Bailey is in the heat. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does. No matter how he does, though, I'm happy to see him back on the floor. Always the ultimate gentleman, the perfect competitor, no matter what the result.
Absolutely. Dan Bailey's a fan favorite for a reason. He's well loved within the community. He's earned his spot amongst the greats with the CrossFit Games athletes. And on top of that, just a really good dude.
Yep. Drew Wayman came off the handstand walk the fastest. What we saw before, though, was when you get onto the ski erg, unless you have a substantial lead from the handstand walk, you may get caught on the ski erg. So let's see how Drew does.
Now, we thought we had a tight race in the first heat with only 5 athletes neck and neck, but here we're looking at 7 or 8 athletes within 5 or 10 meters of one another.
It is still anybody's game. You talked about blood in the water a second ago. This is blood in the water.
And this is where you're going to see, I mean, you mentioned, hey, what are they looking at when they look over to their compatriots here? What they're looking at is the person next to me slowing down? And if they are, hopefully the thought in their mind is, I'm going to speed up a little bit to just hurt their feelings a little bit more.
It is still anybody's game. Drew Wayman still a little bit off to the or in a lead currently right now, but Linus Bresander is catching up just a little bit, but so is Nick Matthew.
Wow, absolutely. All of these guys have very fast paces. I mean, we see 133, 132 out of Drew Wayman, 135 out of Milos. We see 135 out of Brian. These are very, very impressive paces. This is absolutely going to come down to execution on that second handstand walk, which we've seen has been a real key to performance when it comes to all the athletes.
And it's interesting to see that we've got 530 odd meters left on Drew, which would give us an indication that we're going to see these athletes having to go for one more handstand walk after the one they're about to embark on now.
We've turned around, we're getting upside down. If this is a performance where Drew Wayman can continue his pacing, continue his composure, actually get himself upside down, across and back onto the ski erg first, you're really talking about sending a message.
Yes.
He was 18 meters ahead of the Heat 1 leader at this point, which is kind of ridiculous considering even in Heat 1 we were looking at some very impressive performances.
So it looks like
Milos was the first one up onto his
Stavorzynski. So Milos was the first one off the second handstand walk. Now we saw in the past heat that there was a little bit of strategizing behind not going too fast on the first, making your move on the second. Maybe that's what Milos did.
Perhaps. I mean, we're seeing here the second handstand walk was the key to splitting up that huge race in the first interval. And I think that's one of the things that actually makes this workout such a beautifully programmed workout, because the first 2 minutes is fair game for anybody. When it comes to repeating your effort in the first 2 minutes, again, that's when you start seeing people really separate.
That is a completely different beast. Drew Wayman has not given up his hopes of a heat win. He's chasing Miloš with everything he's got. Miloš has got 190 odd meters left with about 30 seconds left before the next handstand walk.
And the pacing we're seeing here is mind-blowing. Drew Wayman with a 131 is catching up to Miloš, who has a 138 on his pace. And you can see those cute little cartoon skiers right there. They're catching up.
This is insane. We've got about 10 seconds to go before the guys need to go out on another handstand walk, which would give you an indication that they're not going to make it right now.
Oh, this is coming down to the wire. It's going to be absolutely, it's going to be a punch to the gut. Now the question is, can it roll over?
Yes.
There it goes.
There you go. Drew Wayman and Miloš.
Wow. Wow.
Looks like Miloš made it just on the buzzer. Drew Wayman as well. And wow.
Yeah, less than 1 second between the two of them, about a second between the two of them in terms of performance. 403-ish, 404-ish, unofficial, of course.
So the way that works right now, if you're watching at home and going, how does that work? Well, it basically works this way. If you've generated enough power, the sliding meters you get are also credited to you. So even if you should be onto your handstand walk, you give it a last pull, you walk, you turn around, your judge will let you know you have reached the acquired distance.
I can imagine that Drew Wayman and Miloš are both very, very glad that that's the case, because I can't imagine them coming off of these ski interval pushes and wants to do a third handstand walk.
I can't, no, me neither. Definitely not. We've got Reggie right now. Reggie Fossa has finished up. And it looks like Dan Bailey and Devin O'Neill are fighting it out right now to see who's next.
And Dan Bailey really coming back strong, a 5'10" on this event. After the injuries that he's suffered, after some shoulder issues, some foot issues, some knee issues, very, very impressive.
And Jonathan Gibson is on his way to finishing out. We'll see if Sam Stewart beats him to it or not. There you go. Oh man, that is too tight.
Wow.
It was very, very tight. In lane
0.7 of a second.
We've still got Linus Brisander out there. His judge just called him back because he put his hands down in front of the line, which means he has to come back. Linus just won the Open in Sweden, so best athlete in Sweden. I know for a fact that he can handstand walk, but I'm guessing those shoulders are just blown apart, but also the tricep.
Yeah, this is that quagmire that we talked about a little bit earlier, where you cannot complete your 20-meter handstand walk in 2 minutes. You don't even get a single shot after that to get into your skier. You're just kind of stuck continuing to hit these handstand walks. And mentally, you said it yourself, you know he's really good at handstand walking. What do you think that does to him mentally?
Well, Linus is in a good place. I just talked to him, his coach, right before the event. And I mean, he's in good hands. He's got a good crew with him. I think Linus is going to beat himself up, and I think he's probably going to be allowed to do so for about 10 seconds after this, and then they're going to go, you know what, let's talk about this when we get home. Now, on to the next event. He's got a snatch event coming up later today that I think he looks forward to. So he's just going to have to put this behind him.
Yeah, it's very important, I think, to put some perspective on events like this. We mentioned he's already a national champion. He doesn't really have to worry so much about his spot at the CrossFit Games in a situation like that. This is really like a tune-up. The Open just finished up. We're starting a very long sanctional season. Filthy 150 here in Ireland. This is the first event of 28 sanctioned events over 6 continents between now and middle of July. Yep. So it's a very long season.
It is, and I mean, having won in Sweden, still to be confirmed though, but having won in Sweden gives him a spot at the games, which means that all the sanctions basically become practice in competing.
And you have to be able to practice having bad days.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. I'm just gonna have to throw it out there. I don't think I've ever seen a man more worthy of an athlete's shirt than Dan Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, it could say legend, it could say machine, it could say athlete. many, many different words that would very, very applicably fit with Dan Bailey. It's also good to see that he is not less jacked. He's still I mean, he's just so jacked.
It's insane. I don't think I've ever seen him out of shape. I know he's said before that he's out of shape, but you really can't tell.
Those delts don't lie, man.
No. So Linus Brisander right here, getting high fives and chest bump from the rest of the crew. Guys look happy. They are on the way. So we have Milos was the one who finished first in 4:03. Then we had Wayman right after that, 4:04. So the rest of these athletes that still haven't made it onto the floor have the work cut out for them.
Yeah,
sub 4, do you think it's going to happen?
I think it's going to happen. I think sub 4 is absolutely within potential.
And there's Milos right there. He looks pretty happy.
Yeah, I couldn't tell what he was doing there. Did it look like he was upset, but then he turned and looked at the camera and smiled? So like, how upset could he be? I'm not really sure what's going on there. Genius, by the way. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Perfectly executed by Milos, though, taking it easy as he moved out, or as he got started, and then just kind of increased speed.
Yeah, I think, by the way, speaking of this heat, this event, sub 4, in my opinion, is absolutely possible.
So here's the recap. Drew Wayman came out to a blistering start in this heat right here. He held on to great pace, but the athlete right behind him, which was Milos, executed it even better because he was fast. He was really, really fast on the second handstand walk, and then once he got to the ski erg, no surrender.
Yeah, the execution there really came down to the second handstand walk. And also, I mean, kudos to Drew Wayman, because his pacing on that second set of ski interval really came down to the wire. I mean, if he had been even a second per 500 slower on his pacing, he would not have finished with the rollover. So he really sent it, and it paid off.
It was very, very well done. And it just goes to show you that it's not about brute force. It's not just about endurance. It's also about making things work for you at the right time.
And speaking of make things work for you right there, the cowboy, Sean Sweeney, he's out here. He was here for 19.5 for the live announcement at CrossFit Bua. And now he's here for the first sanctional of the 2020 season. He's had a very good open, a much better open than he's ever had in his career. And he's still here to compete in person. I don't know what it is about a cowboy, but everywhere he goes, he seems like people love him. People love him in Brazil. People love him in Ireland. The man knows how to party.
I'm not sure if it's the cowboy or just because he is as nice as they get. You can say that about pretty much everybody you're going to meet in a CrossFit community. They're all nice. And speaking of nice guys, here they are. In lane number 1, Lucas Esslinger. Lane number 2, Justin Medeiros. Lane number 3, Jean-Simon Roy-Lamarie. And in lane number 4, Adrian Mundviller. Lane number 5, Jon Nikoski. Lane number 6, Matt McLeod. Lane number 7, Michael Smith. Lane number 8, Roman Krenikov. Lane number 9, Sean Sweeney, the cowboy he is. Lane number 10, Will Morad. And in lane number 11, we had Cedric Lapointe. And in lane number 12, Tim Paulson.
Yeah, this is going to be a stacked heat. We talked about whether it's possible for this event to finish in under 4 minutes. Someone in this heat is going to finish this event in under 4 minutes. I've got my eye on 3 athletes: Lucas Esslinger, Roman Krenikov, and Tim Paulson. These are large, powerful, skilled athletes when it comes to the machines as well as the handstand walk, and they have nothing to lose. They have everything to gain.
I'm just gonna throw Adrian Mundviller in the mix just because he opted out of the Open. I saw him about a month ago in Sweden at a competition there, and he looked good. He looked really good, but he needs to punch a ticket to the games.
That's right, and it doesn't hurt, by the way, that his back is wider than the entire lane that they have the handstand walk in. So he's got a huge lat in order to pull all that weight down for the skier.
It's going to be interesting to see who runs off with it, but it's anybody's game.
Absolutely. This is a stacked heat. We've got some great athletes here. We've got Will Morad, who just came off a record performance at the games himself. He's finishing the top 10, rehabbing a pretty bad hamstring injury that he suffered at the games. But I spoke with him last night at the hotel, and he said he's feeling great.
Will Morad feeling great should be bad news for a lot of other athletes.
Yeah, I don't know how great he's going to be feeling in about 4.5 minutes, but
let's try to get it. Let's try to talk to him at some point during the day to find out how he's doing afterwards.
Oh, for sure, for sure. This is gonna be an interesting one, and I appreciate that mullet. I appreciate that mullet going on in lane 2 with Justin Medeiros. As a man who has cultivated his own mullet over time, I respect it.
And we are about to get going.
And here
we go. And so we talked about it before. It's not about the first handstand walk. It has been about the second handstand walk and being able to maintain the momentum that you get out of the first ones.
My expectation here, Mads, is that we're going to see a very tight race for this first 2-minute interval. We're going to see the mullet man himself, Justin Medeiros, come out. Tim Paulson just ripping that ski erg to shreds right now. We're going to see a very tight race, I think, at the top between the top few athletes, but it's definitely going to split when it comes back down to that second handstand walk.
This is fast. This is insane. Justin and Tim virtually side by side, but it is still anybody's game. Cedric is trying to catch up. You've got Sean also trying to catch up, and I mean, the splits for these guys.
Yeah, this is one of those events where we've seen in every heat so far that the first interval is one of those situations where you can have a lot of power output, but the question is, how do you actually recover in time for that second handstand walk? Folks, we don't know what's going on with Roman Krenikov's scoring here. I don't see him out on the field, actually.
Oh,
it's a bit of a surprise.
I see Roman out there. I think it's just the screen right now. So don't worry, Roman is here. We're not quite sure where he's at. We'll have to get that figured out a little bit later. But right now, it looks
he's
like
ripping it.
Tim Paulson looks like he is he's tearing this thing apart.
Yeah, I mean that is an incredibly fast pace that these guys are going through here. So here comes that second handstand walk. Roman was the first one to get upside down.
But they are all right now side by side.
We have a lot of athletes here with 460 remaining. Tim Paulson's first back onto the skier. What a hoss of a human being.
Crazy how fast he did on the second handstand walk. Looks like Tim Paulson has decided, I'm not going to go for another handstand walk. I'm going to do 2, and you people are just going to be happy with it.
Yeah, look at him build that lead. And he's still skiing at a 135, 136 pace. That's really impressive.
That is, and remember, so if we can get anybody below 4 minutes,
it's probably going to be Tim. It's going to be T-Rex.
I can't see who could possibly beat him now. That being said, the impossible has happened before.
Yes, and
but that's a good lead.
Tim had a really disappointing 2019 CrossFit Games. I know he's a very aggressive competitor, but he was knocked out in the very first event in the 2019 Games. Not what he was expecting, not what he wanted. That's the type of thing that really stays with an athlete like him. When I caught up with him after the games, he sounded very disappointed, but I mean, look at him now. He's back, and he's back with a vengeance. I think he's out here with something to prove, and we can definitely see that going down.
And every once in a while, that's what you need, to go back to the drawing board and go, what do I need to get better at? Was this a fluke, or is there something that just kind of came out and became obvious at this competition? Which is why even some of the athletes that have already qualified for the games this year, it would be great for them to go out here and get some competition experience.
Absolutely. Tim is going to just destroy this.
Holy smokes.
Wow. 352.
And in second place currently, Adrian Mundviller.
Let's see if he'll roll over. He's waiting. Adrian's waiting to see if it... Oh, it didn't roll.
Oh, it didn't.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Savage performance from Tim Paulson. Absolutely savage performance from Tim Paulson.
But interesting to see Adrian Moonviller just wait to see if it rolled over. It didn't, and it gave everybody else 5-6 meter lead on the handstand walk.
Here we go. Sweeney gets back to the erg first. Let's see if he can beat out some of the athletes ahead of him. Oh, what a great performance out of Sean Sweeney.
And there he goes, and he finishes. We've got Justin Madero finishing up, Will Morad finishing off at the same time as Jon Nikowski. Adrian Moonviller still, he's about to finish, and he does it now. Wow.
Yeah, this is truly an impressive performance out of all of these athletes. But seriously, kudos to Tim Paulson.
Absolutely.
That's a mind-blowing pace to hold across 1,000 meters with 40 meters of handstand walking mixed in there. I'm lacking words right now. I'm just very, very impressed. And we talked about it. Will we see anybody go below the 4-minute mark? The answer is yes. Yes, and just one.
Just one man.
Just one sets himself apart in just a blistering pace. Now, we saw a couple other athletes in the previous heat, 403, 404, were able to finish because of that rollover, but I mean, it says something when you don't even have to rely on the rollover. Yep. He was clearly under 352. Now, right now, we're having a little bit of an issue with our scoring with Roman, so we don't exactly know where he finished up. But we'll get that information to you as soon as we can.
And the cowboy hat is back. Sweeney looks like he's a happy camper. High fives and chest bumps for everybody. But the man of the hour, Tim Paulson.
Tim Paulson.
Wow.
Okay, we got Roman in lane 5, finished off in lane 5. So, I mean, he clearly finished the event. We saw him mixing it up afterwards. Big smiles from Tim, understandably.
Absolutely. We will get back to you with the score from Roman Krinikov as soon as we know, but he was in the game. The man of the hour, though, Tim Paulson. Good celebration.
I believe that might be the equivalent of a mic drop on a skier. I think just let go of the handles and get the hands up in the air, ready to go.
I'm going to have to try that at some point, which also means I can't be competing with anybody else. But if you see me walking around a box, hands up like that, I just wanted to try to feel like that for a second.
Yeah, Tim
very
Paulson,
impressive.
Very impressive out there.